Herzlich willkommen zum The Unleash People Podcast, dem Podcast für alle, die HR und Talent Acquisition strategisch denken. Wir, Ina und Christian, liefern euch gemeinsam mit Expertinnen und Experten regelmäßig frische Insights, die euch und euer Unternehmen voranbringen. Heute sprechen wir mit Anastasija Remović, einer globalen Talent Acquisition Expertin, über die Herausforderungen, die uns in HR und TA in 2026 erwarten. Hello everyone. It's the time again, and now you see and hear the first episode of the second season of the Unleash People podcast. And we are super proud that we actually made it into the second season now, and you can be super excited for the guests we already have planned, and it will be super interesting. Today we have Anastasija as a guest. She is a very seasoned TA expert based out of Amsterdam, and as it's early in the year, we will also start with the topic that everybody actually has on their mind, right? That challenges that we face in HR and TA in 2026. So let's see what we come up with, whether it's old stuff or new stuff or the same as every year. We will figure out hopefully by the end of this episode. And let me start now with Anastasija. So, Anastasija, what's your take on the challenges we might face this year?
So, first of all, thank you for the introduction and thank you for having me. I've been a fan of your podcast for a while now, and I'm really glad that we got into the second season, right? When it comes to your question, what are the challenges that we could be facing this year? The first one, it's definitely the geopolitics and economy that we are in, unfortunately. Second thing is definitely where the TA is going as a function. So, are we finally going to get that strategic seat everywhere or not? What strategy means, what it doesn't mean, how we will find enough jobs for all those candidates out there and still satisfy the business, where the AI comes in. Basically, is that to help us out? Is that to replace us? I do believe to help us out. But I think that the long story short, 2026 is going to enlighten us when it comes to a lot of stuff that we can influence.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. That's a lot to talk about. And now we are just focusing on TA. Ina, if for HR in general, what do you believe will be the biggest challenges right now?
I think a lot of stuff we do have in common, so to say, between TA and HR. I think AI, especially now moving more into agentic AI, is a huge topic for HR. Let's say all the operational parts of the HR jobs on the one hand. So I see it still as a big chance for the HR function to be more strategic, because if we use AI right, it can just save us a ton of time. But I find a little bit sad currently is still that quite some teams or companies focus on outsourcing complex or strategic things to AI instead of starting with the basics and outsource all that operational stuff that just takes time. So I think that's a big topic. And then for HR, it gets even bigger because it doesn't affect only our own role, but also we need to look into the roles in our company and look into a role redesign. Combined with also what you mentioned, Anastasija, with cost cutting. So how can you kind of overhaul the organization, the organizational structure, use AI properly, look into human in the loop governance. So that's also a lot of policy work where you as HR quickly need to understand how AI really works. And I see that as a gap. And quite some HR teams. So I think those are the biggest challenges. And I just want to add one more when it comes to culture, company culture, because I think trust is a huge topic. So the one topic coming in, does AI take my job away? That's number one. By the way, I have 2 dogs.
They also have an opinion, huh?
They have a strong opinion about trust and AI taking away the job. But currently it's a dog walker picking them up. So she's safe when we talk about AI. But also, obviously, also silent layoffs, restructuring. We had in so many companies, people losing their jobs. So that also creates a trust gap. So I think that's also a big task for HR companies to work with that.
I do have to add one more thing, and basically to back you up in terms of the skill set that we are having in HR and talent acquisition, our skill set as such. From one side, yes, AI is going to help us a lot in different processes, etc. But what about emotional intelligence? What about that human touch? Because at the end of the day, we do work with humans, all of us. So AI can help us up until a certain point. Everything else is still with us. So from one side, we do see a lot of teams, maybe people losing this skill from one side, from another side, forgetting that they should develop this skill of psychological safety, of emotional intelligence, of so many stuff. So I'm with you, just had to add this point as well.
That's a lot of stuff we can talk about. I'm pretty sure we cannot cover everything. And I would also think that today we cannot deliver solutions. Maybe some thoughts that can lead to solutions, but also it always depends on the company setup, right? And how they operate. So in that case, there is no one size fits all solution for sure. And we just can also give some thoughts or even provoking ideas that trigger potential actions within all organizations. I want to touch one thing, Anastasija, you just mentioned the human touch, because when you said it, I remembered a headline I saw in a German newspaper, because apparently some schools introduce AI as a subject from very early on to teach the basics about AI. And what kind of struck me the most from that article is that the teachers try to emphasize that AI does not have feelings. And I guess that's something that people often mistake, that AI can understand you and is giving you an appropriate answer that is based on what we would kind of understand as a feeling, but that's not the case. It's still the most likely answer that you want to hear, and they completely neglect your feelings. They are just kind of give you the most appropriate answer based on their algorithm and nothing more. So the more that kind of comes to mind of people, the easier, I guess, it will also become to use AI in the way it provides the most benefits. And that is what the two of you mentioned in operations, in use cases where you can automate things, where you can take away a lot of manual tasks and administrative tasks and just review the results, because that's still something we need to do. But then that also can help us to move more into people, HR, talent strategy. And that thing is not new. I heard that last year the year before, even 5-6 years ago, when automation was introduced into the HR space. Back then, people said, now we can finally focus on strategy much more. And I don't want to be rude, but realistic. Honestly, nothing happened. We are still talking about it as we do right now. And we still have not moved a single step more into the strategic role we want to move into. Maybe I'm a bit too black and white here, but still, there is still a lot of way to go and to achieve, to say that HR and then talent acquisition actually is working in a very strategic way. But please correct me if I'm wrong.
I think I'm not as negative as you are when it comes to the development of HR. Because when I just look, summarized HR still is a super young role, right? So if you compare to others, and it's purely started administrative, operational. However, what I see in the last couple of years, and you just need to look into your LinkedIn bubble, is you have way more CHROs, chief people officers, who are way more visible than they were before. And also what I see in my network, it's still a long way, it's still a lot to do, but I think there is progress. And nevertheless, fully agree that we could have used automation and AI more efficient. That for sure, but we didn't fix processes in a lot of cases, and then AI doesn't help you.
So there are a couple of points from my end, and this is something what I've been saying for a long time. One thing is having a seat at the table, another thing is having a voice at that table. So when it comes to the HR and strategy, okay, it's much better than it was 10 years ago from that point of view, but still, at least I'm not being negative, I haven't seen actually HR leading certain strategy, influencing strategy of the company, not basically doing what, the business is requesting as such. I haven't seen many times in my career, basically, HR pushing back and saying no to certain things. And it's the same with talent, I would say, and talent acquisition as well, where you really need to have proper processes designed that are functioning, that you can replace them with AI. So it's really what we have, what we want. I think that we are still in between, but when it comes to strategy and the company as such, there are 2 points. What is the strategy of the TA? So what we think that is the right strategy. And the second thing, what's the strategy of the company? Do we as TA basically function not only on the operational point, but also understanding numbers, understanding CapEx, understanding OpEx, understanding not only cultures, but subcultures, challenges. So I think there are many layers. And maybe I'm sitting with Christian on a more negative side of this, what I'm seeing that is happening, and just hope that will change.
Yeah, we spoke about that more than once, Anastasija, and I guess it also depends on the company you are working for, right? Because Ina and I, we have very strong startup and scale-up experience as well, and there we have had much more impact than you have seen. It was still a lot of work, and I guess Ina can speak about that for ages, how much time and effort and also strength it's costing to really create that impact. But in smaller organizations, it's easier in comparison to big corporates where you have a process landscape that is super strict and quite strong unwillingness to change, or let's call it resilience to trying out new things. And you cannot really compare both worlds, right? Both worlds have different struggles, different rules in a way how to operate. And also the responsibility is completely different. A CEO of a startup is responsible for 50 people, 100 people, and maybe even 200, 300. And when we talk about leadership for often big corporate, we are going into the 100,000 sometimes. So the impact you have with a single decision is much higher, and the consequences can also be much more severe when it comes to not only your employees but families and even whole regions. And that being said, we're also deviating a bit from the challenges and what we can do to complaining about what's not working. That's maybe not the topic of today's episode, a complete rant. So let's focus on the challenges, right? We have AI, we have the move into a more strategic role as a consequence. We also have the labor market, right, with a lot of people searching for jobs. We have the situation that graduates struggle even more to find a job because of how AI is being used in companies, which will trigger a much more severe problem in, let's say, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, because companies will still look for more senior people. And if we are not able to train people to become more senior, it's basically us cutting our how can I say, market by ourselves. So what are your potential solutions to that?
A lot of questions to answer, I would say. When we talk about the AI, at least on the talent side, but I will also step in, when it comes to the HR side, I do think that, the alignment within HR, it's extremely important. And again, talent being part of that, we have HR operations, we have HR business partnering, etc. So definitely we need to start with the alignment over there. On the second side, I do think that proper education, proper training sessions on AI are a must out there, because I have a feeling that, one thing is when you have, when you learn how to code, okay, fine. But for a common use like we are using, we do need to understand how AI can help us. Where is the advantage? Where is, the AI just assuming as such? So that's the second point. The third thing, you need to map out and state, okay, which part of the process AI can help me with and how it will help me. On the fourth side, sometimes maybe in certain companies, you do have, the strategy that they want to replace talent, recruitment, or HR with AI completely, but they also need to know consequences out there. And again, we are talking about the human side, HR side. So what you can do, what you can't do. So long story short, it's treating AI as a tool that can help us out, that can help us think, not that will think on our behalf. That's number one. And I think that needs to be clear out there. I don't know. Nowadays, it reminds me, when you have certain symptoms, when you have a cold, etc., and then you are Googling, basically, and then you are the last idiom on cancer, according to Google. So this is what I'm seeing with AI as well, how it's used. So we need to prevent that. When it comes to the strategic department, I do think that talent, again, it depends which company you're working in, you need to be more aware about the company strategy, about the financials, as well about the challenges that I mentioned earlier. So you need to be aware. If you don't understand where the company is going, or you can't read the financial reports, how you will do the talent strategy? It's impossible. So I do think that we need to be part of that group a bit more as well, and not just listening, but offering a solution. When it comes to the candidates out there, I do believe that honesty and human touch is also a good point, saying, hey, I don't have anything available out there. I don't have any roles, but if I hear anything, I can connect you with, or this is the best way for you to find a job, etc. Just being honest, just at least respond to those people. I don't know if I'm forgetting anything. In terms of the geopolitics, you can't do anything, but at least you can stay informed. Avoid living in a bubble, I would say, what I'm seeing as well a lot. So, yes, anything to add, to ask? Maybe I forgot something.
I think from an HR perspective, looking into the job descriptions right now with as much transparency as possible towards the employees, when we now talk about trust and so on, that's super important. And that's also a very strategic task. So let's look into what we have as job descriptions, which what are, like, I don't know, zombie tasks. So stuff that AI can do or will do in the future, and also look into how will it develop in the next 1 year, because there's a lot to happen. It's fast. And then next step, also think about not wasting this talent that you have there, but look into what are tasks with a value add. So responsibilities that people should do, like you said, strategic, connected to empathy, complex problem solving, and so on. And then also look into your junior staff, because here you have that biggest shift with all those AI tasks, but you will need them. And you also have to think about, even though the situation right now is a little bit tricky on the job market and so on, we know how many people are going to retire. We know it. And even though right now it looks a little bit different, we shouldn't close our eyes what's going to happen very, very soon with a lot of people retiring. There will be a gap, even with AI. And I have the feeling that companies do like as if they never heard about it. And then in a couple of years, they will be shocked not having the senior leaders they need, because they didn't invest in the juniors. They didn't build up the right roles. So that's like, this is strategy. This is long-term strategy. And that's exactly where we can jump in now and show our strategic impact as TA, as HR in a business, pointing out with data, hey guys, we all know this is going to happen, and here's what we can do to prevent it. So yeah, that would be my take.
I do have to add that it also depends on the market. It also depends on the company, on the size of the company at the end of the day. So there is a lot of stuff that you can point out that they are strategic. Maybe certain stuff in the startup are strategic and they are absolutely not strategic in corporate. So strategy versus operations, I think it's a topic that we can discuss going on. But Ina, I'm with you that talent management, it's definitely something that in most cases we could do better.
And again, and that actually ties this episode to almost all episodes of the first season. We need to make sure that we have the basics in place in HR, and I guess that's the biggest impediments, or one of the biggest impediments we have still in the complete HR space, is not having set up our processes, our frameworks in a way that they actually support us and function properly. And what you just mentioned, Ina, the complete, let's call it workload planning piece, right, is very often completely overlooked because on first glance, it seems to be super complex. And I'm not saying it's easy, but with the right approach, the right processes, you can at least understand the impact of people leaving, right? Of the seniors in terms of age leaving in this year, next year. And honestly, it doesn't come as a surprise. There is an end date to the work contract. And that's, and I don't like to repeat myself that much, right? A lot of stuff somehow still is based on gut feeling and on let's call it anecdotal evidence, because we did it like that for the past 5 years and we are still here and it's okay, it works. People don't feel a lot of pressure to change things, but from what I see, the pressure is already there. The markets change, business models change, complete industries will be obsolete in a few years. And I guess we also need to face those truths, right? Work changes. Again, AI will have a huge impact on a lot of stuff that we are speaking about. Right now, it's not that people who build houses, they will not be replaced by AI in the foreseeable future. But engineers, HR, TA, finance, there are a lot of roles that can be impacted. And in my opinion, it's our job, HR job, to actually figure out which roles are affected, and also to understand how they are affected and how we can reskill people to still create an impact and to work with AI and not against it, right? But maybe again, I'm too negative on that. I'm not sure.
I wouldn't say so, because there are a lot of things that are showing uncertainty, that we don't know what will happen. So we can just assume. So I do believe that there are certain stuff that we can do at the moment, but from another side, we need to still sit and wait. We also keep forgetting that the new generation is coming, basically, with different ways of thinking. So, to be on the safe side, you do need to follow up with the market, with the strategy, with everything that is happening. But from another side, you need to wait and see, because in my opinion, we jumped into, again, AI is not existing for the past 2 years. It's existing for much longer. But in the past 2 years, we jumped into it. We don't feed that AI with more information like we did, but we are taking out. So this year, it's going to show us how actually it will help us from one side, but from another side, where is the line that we need to cut that off in terms of the usage?
I'm still way less negative than you guys are. Maybe it's my good day today, because to be honest, now I have to say, disagree. We cannot cut AI off. It's going to happen. It's getting more, and they will change the regulations around it constantly. They do already. So for me, it's like not sit and wait, but jump in and do with best interest. And I think HR should be done waiting, sitting, and see what happens next, because that's exactly what I'm missing in this function, is proactivity. Just do things, right? And instead of, and that's what I hear quite often in HR teams, instead of, oh, let's wait how it develops, oh, let's see what happens next. This is what slows us down. And this is what, especially when you look in functions like engineering and so, this is what we can't afford. So instead of leaning back and see what happens, I think HR should jump in and do. Because this is what's going to help us way, way more. And for me, I see it actually positive. Yes, it's a lot. It always has been a lot. And now the development is even a little bit faster. But for me, I see that it's also very helpful. So I can get rid of zombie tasks step by step if I jump into it and understand how I can work better with AI. And I can influence the company strategy if I speak the company language, if I know about numbers and figures, and if I can sit in the management team and then say, hey, I know you're talking about XYZ, that's not necessarily HR, but how about, or I have a question, or can you better tell me? I can influence company strategy with that attitude. It took me a while to learn it, but meanwhile, I don't have the feeling that I don't have a seat on the table and that I don't have a voice, because I can speak the language way better than I could 5 years ago. And I think we should just use it and not be so depressed. It's the beginning of the year, guys.
No, Ina, I'm with you 100%. I'm with you. And I'm super grateful when it comes to the operation tasks. When it comes to AI, it's helping me a lot. Like, I'm with you on that. So in that sense, I'm using AI on daily basis. So with you. But from another side, I can also give you my example. I'm using different AI tools for market research, example. And what I got is that AI making assumptions. And if I haven't been experienced enough in market research as such to understand that these are assumptions and challenge AI, I would go out there in front of the business presenting something that doesn't make sense at all. So
yeah, but
this is what I'm
competency
saying.
You need to train people, because when I talk to Christian, he has a great opinion, but I would never take it for granted. And that's how I treat AI as well. So, hey, let's discuss. And I still use my brain. I think that's super important. And that's what we need to teach people, and where you need courses. But that's basically, for me, it's not the biggest difference to talk to another human, because I don't take things for granted. And that's important, right?
But so that's that's me and Christian. You know, in most cases, then this is the point where we need to educate people. But Christian, go ahead. We cut you off twice.
All good. It's the second time now. No, just joking. So I have never been compared to AI. I'm not sure whether that's good or bad. I take it as good, at least for now. And I would also use this rather positive sentiment as an end statement, right, Ina? That we should not be afraid, that we should adapt or should accept the challenge and just make the best out of it. But on one point, I completely agree. If we don't try things out, we will never learn how they work. And I guess with that positive outlook on 2026, which might be challenging, but still something we can also use as a growth and learning opportunity, we should be more positive and just take things as they come. In that sense, Anastasija, Ina, thank you very much. Thank you for your time and this great conversation. I'm pretty sure we could speak for ages and keep discussing, agreeing, disagreeing, which is super, super cool. So thank you again and have a great rest of the day. Bye. Das war's für heute. Vielen Dank, dass ihr bis zum Ende dabei geblieben seid und bis zum nächsten Mal.